Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to see everyone joining in the chat already. I do have to point out one particular comment straight away, though.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, Nick.
I know.
Every week I'm shirtless in the and it's just not good. Shelley says she's in for 20 minutes, but she just can't resist us, guys.
Well, hello,
That's
Shelley.
nice.
Good to see
Thank
you. And I hope, of course, to see you tonight as well. Because we've got the third of 4 SPTV workshops tonight. So I know that
of course,
many people will be tweaking in. And of course, we are now broadcasting even further afield now that StreamYard has wonderfully updated its system. So that we are now streaming not only onto my YouTube and Facebook page, not only to the group page, but also onto a couple of Tony's pages as well. So
indeed,
it is now spreading. And thank you all, of course, for joining us. But hey, it's my mate. And just reference the comments during the week about the new graphics that we created. I thought we were the right way around, but it jumped again. So let's put it right, shall we? Back to the way we are. I will save that one because we can save layouts now. So let's say hello. We have got, obviously, the wonderful Trace come to see us. The lovely Shelley.
Mum, Linda.
Mum. Hello, Linda. Hello, Mum. Tina.
Stace. Jen.
Hey, Jen. Yeah, well done, doll. Well done. I never did show you. I apologise. I'll fix that. The lovely Kate.
Dawny Walden.
Dawny Walden. Hello.
Oh, and Trace's mum says hi too. Hi, Trace's mum and my dad.
Hey. We've also got the lovely Samantha. Hello, Sam. Nicola. Have we said hello to Stace? I see Stace.
Yes, I said Stace.
Thought so.
But yes, hi, Dad. Well, see, now we're broadcasting onto my page. My dad can see because he never worked out how to watch it, and it was a bit confusing. So yeah, Karen. Oh, Handsomes. Yeah, that.
Hello, Karen. Hi, Karen. Look who she's with, though. Look who she's with on that picture.
I know. I know.
In actual fact, we have another organisation joining us. Hello, Rainbow Project Rotherham.
I've got a feeling it might be Michael. He's got the work phone out as well, so I think it may be Michael. Look at that. Shelley said it's my dad.
Oh, see, it's all one big happy family, and it's really good to see everyone.
And here. Of course, you're fast becoming my on-screen husband, dear.
I know.
Monday.
Wasn't that fun though?
Oh, wasn't that brilliant? Fun? I really enjoyed that. That was so much fun. It was lovely to be back on SPTV because I haven't been on for a little while. But no, it was lovely. It was really nice. Really nice.
Absolutely. So, and of course, based on that, the question of the week.
I did my nails.
Yay! Fabulous.
Oh, yeah, everybody. How are you? Caught me doing the weekly shop at Tesco's.
Fabulous.
I could do with some oat milk. If you're in the aisle, can you just grab me some oat milk? Don't know where you are, but you know.
And you know what? The other thing as well to remember, of course, if you hadn't figured it out already, save your data because they have public Wi-Fi in Tesco's. So log on to their public Wi-Fi.
Yes, they have. Yes. And Linda, hi Friday family. Isn't that lovely?
That just bless that. She's good, mum. She's
and
good,
I do love forget-me-nots because I have an armband tattooed with forget-me-nots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There is actually a story behind the forget-me-nots, actually, which I will just very briefly share. Yes, so while you're in Tesco's, they do caffeine-free Pepsi Max, so, you know, it's got to be the right one. When just after Dad passed away, I was invested with sorting out the garden. But the whole garden suddenly sprung up with those blue forget-me-nots. Were
Oh.
everywhere. We even transplanted some of them into the border, so they should be coming up anytime soon. But yeah, it was amazing because they'd never grown in the garden before.
Isn't
Never.
it strange? Isn't it strange? I had this really bizarre dream about my granddad, my dad's dad, telling me we needed peace and icebergs. We were sat on the beach where they used to live up in the northeast, and sat on a rock, and he said to me, "Anthony, son, you need peace and icebergs." And that was it. So I woke up and I said to Michael, "I had this weird ass dream about my granddad," and he said, "Oh, peace and icebergs are two really, 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 really old original roses from way back. So there's an actual rose grower up in Sheffield. We went up and they had peace and a climbing iceberg. So we've got those in the garden. They're absolutely beautiful. Every Christmas Eve, the iceberg one, it's a pure white flower, has one bloom on it. Christmas Eve, every year. It starts to grow a bud and then it opens up on Christmas Eve, which is my birthday.
Yes.
Every year, without fail.
Wonderful.
And it's like, roses do not bloom in winter. Don't. But this one does. It's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
That is amazing. Brilliant. And Dawny, that's probably why we are so linked. Caffeine-free Pepsi Max, that golden bottle. Hello to Lucy Austin. There's a name that I have not seen on a Friday before. So hello to Lucy.
There's a little link sign as well on mine, so I'm presuming.
So it's one of your shares. Yeah, come through your page.
Yeah.
And also the same Heather Hollis. Welcome to you.
And Tina.
And Tina, hello to you. Welcome,
it is beautiful, isn't it? It's lovely how the spirit world find these little ways to say hi.
And look, you've got something else in common too. I don't know why I'm waving my mouse at it because you're not going to see it, but look at the picture. Look at the picture.
Nails.
The nails. Now I have to come back to Facebook user.
Yes.
If I am not on next week, you know that I've spent too much money on food and not enough to pay the internet. In that case, go and buy a packet of chewing gum from Tesco's. It'll only be like 30 odd p, and you can just link onto their internet and let them pay for it.
Yeah, let them pay for it. It's fine. But yes, it's oh, and Karen White thought I was talking about lettuce when I said icebergs.
For a minute, so did I. Don't worry, Karen. It took me a minute.
Yeah.
It
Alison
really
Jackson did. And
hello to Alison.
Loads of people, new faces. It's brilliant.
It's wonderful. So to all of you lovely, lovely newbies, welcome to the family that is
Spiritline.
Spiritline, indeed. Friday, the 2 Revs on philosophy, where we come together to literally talk about this way of life. And we have had some tips and guidance and thoughts throughout the week. And it's funny because to one topic that Tony and I were ranting and raving frequently, as we do on our 15-minute pre-show preamble. There is a link. So this Facebook user thing that keeps happening. There's a link at the bottom of the blurb on all of our posts where it says, click this to adapt the StreamYard thingy. All you've got to do is allow StreamYard to talk to your Facebook. It is perfectly safe. I've been doing it for years now. So's Tony.
Oh, 2.5 years?
I know. Freakish, isn't it?
Wow.
It is horrendous. Chrissy. Oh, and that means we don't get to show you your lovely new picture that you've got up as well.
If you go up into the post for this stream, it'll have a blue link above it saying, before you comment, click this link. You literally click it and it disappears and you come back on again and it's fine. We don't
Absolutely.
do readings
No.
on this live. This is all about philosophy, which is if you were in a mainstream Orthodox church, it would be the
Sermon, homily.
bit, but we don't do that. We just this is where we just explore different philosophical topics, issues that have popped up during the week, how this way of life would tackle those issues rather than, you know. And Sean, hi, thank you for listening still. We're looking at adapting this into this is the guy with the podcasts.
Ah, yes, wonderful.
So this is the part of our way of life that we want to adapt and make into a podcast, Sean. So there you go. You may be getting some audio files sent through soon.
Yes. Absolutely, and it really is the way this show, this chat, this group has progressed is just so amazing. And in our way of life, we were told nobody will show an interest in something just about philosophy. And this is week 10.
Yes.
This is episode 10.
How often did we do the first few?
We started doing it once a month, and then people suggested they wanted more. So we said, do you want fortnightly, weekly? And resoundingly, I think it worked out in the end at about 97% wanted weekly. And we've just made that time available because it's brilliant that people want it.
Yes.
So this is...
I don't know about you, Nick, but a lot of people say to me, because it's at 4, I'm making tea, I'm doing this, but I always have it on and then I watch it on catch up. So they rewatch it so they can see everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so Lucy, no, we don't do readings as such, but you're welcome to chip in the conversation and
absolutely
shape the conversation. But the like Nick was starting to say, we were having a pre-chat in the background, and there's a couple of things that were bubbling up that were scratching an itch for us, weren't they, Nick?
Just a tad. Oh, just a tad.
Just a bit. So go on. You can start the first one.
So I was reading a wonderful post from a mutual friend of ours, Jason Rothwell, who made the comment relating to the history of spiritualism in this country. And we're not gonna tap into the history of spiritualism modern across the globe, which was of course though America. We were specifically focused, and the post was specifically focused on spiritualism in this country. And of course, if you go way back, spiritualism certainly as a way of thinking and believing and living is very much all about, everything we've been doing has been going on way longer than modern spiritualism in its current form. But the fact that spiritualism in this country itself started in the North. I also saw a conversation being had online this week where someone was talking about the future of spiritualism, how to engage the youth, how to make it more fun. I chipped my 10 pence in, and I basically felt as though I was being laughed at for being welcoming to people that were under the age of 16. And it just frustrated the bajinkies out of me, frankly. But I loved what Jason said, because he reminded everybody, no matter where people say the heart of spiritualism is, it's actually within each one of us and within the work that we all do as individuals, not one specific location. But if you want to talk about history, you must remember that Yorkshire and Manchester really was the birthplaces of spiritualism in this country. Yeah. Emma Hardinge Britten, Mancunian. And she travelled. She didn't start out in her own area. She wandered hither and thither amid the greenery. And Tony, who is our resident expert on all things northern, where exactly was the first spiritualist church in this country, dear boy?
Keighley, then Sowerby.
Exactly. And that is where the grassroots of spiritualism, not the grassroots of spiritualism, began.
Yes. And the thing is, like all ways of life, factions start to push and pull and oh well, this way of doing it's better than that way of doing it and t'other way of doing it, and that's rubbish, absolute piffle, because if you hold true to spirit, whatever banner you put above the door of your church, it doesn't matter. If you are honoring and respecting spirit and working true with spirit and the higher divine energy, it doesn't matter. Does it make a jot of difference? Because I don't feel it does.
No.
I've worked in many different churches, and I was over in Scunthorpe at a lovely Christian spiritualist church. Hi, Trish, if ever you watch this. And it's a beautiful church. It's an independent Christian spiritualist church. They're not allied to anybody.
Nope.
I've worked in Spiritualist National Union churches. I've worked in the messages, the philosophy, the connection is exactly the same, no matter where you are doing it. It doesn't matter. I could do a demonstration in somebody's front room. I don't care.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting my soapbox out from under
Here
the
it
desk.
comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
When I talk to spiritualists and say I'm a bishop within the Independent Spiritualist Alliance, oh God, no. You can't be Christian and spiritualist. That's ridiculous. They don't mix. It's two different things. Then I talk to a Christian and say, I'm a Christian spiritualist. I'm an ordained Christian spiritualist. Oh no, you can't be one of them and be a Christian. Stop it. My relationship with God and Christ makes me a Christian. I give evidence of life beyond the physical. I'm a spiritualist medium.
Yeah.
Hello. Do not tell me I can't be a Christian and a spiritualist. Here I am stood in front of you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it?
Exactly. And if we want to then dive deeper into the rhetoric and the frankly rubbish that gets thrown at us, if you want to talk about whether Christianity can have mediumship in, I just say go to the Garden of Gethsemane, where my mate Joshua Carpenter sat talking to Moses and Elijah, who'd been dead for centuries. Look, this is a guy who sat and travelled with 12 blokes and a woman who were all disciples, regardless of what anybody says. I don't care. And he taught them how to think, how to live, how to love, how to heal, and how to commune with spirit. That sounds like a spiritualist development circle to me. And this is what I was saying at the beginning about the history of spiritualism being a lot longer than 200 years old. It's always been at the core of everything we do. And to say that one cannot be and should not be connected to the other is trite of the highest form. And frankly, it ties in very well with what Stace was saying earlier. Especially we're talking about not making a place for the youth of spiritualism in spiritualism and shunning them away and saying that spiritualism is an OAP organisation. Rubbish, it's for everyone. And frankly, Stace says, I'm becoming really concerned with what's happening with our children at the moment, with all the stabbings and attacks between them. If we gave them something to do, a sense of belonging in something other than the rubbish that gets bandied around on this planet by adults, we are supposed to be, as adults, although I don't exactly consider myself one, frankly, half the time, but as adults, we are supposed to be the light that leads the way ahead, regardless of your religious or political machinations. And as Sam quite frankly and rightly puts it. The children are the future.
Well, that's the thing. Jean and I always say, well, if you don't encourage young people to come into the churches, if you don't encourage young people to develop and become mediums and healers, and where's this way of life going? Where's it going? It's going nowhere, actually. And I know a few churches and centres where they say you have to be over 16 to come to our services. Why? I can understand some because they're in pubs where they serve alcohol. Fine. That's fine. I understand that. But centres that are in either community centres or halls or whatever, rented spaces, why can't kids come in?
Exactly.
Yes, obviously, if there's somebody there that's or under 16, you would ask the parent if you could pass on a message if it came through. But it's inclusive. We say everybody is welcome to watch what we do. Everybody is welcome into our services. And that includes everybody, regardless of gender, age, colour, sexuality, whatever.
Absolutely.
Species, if you like. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's a few non-humans come in from time to time. And you know, this is absolutely right, Tony. And, you know, I've got to say, I'm going to give Lisa an answer. If anyone gets this, because you will, if you ask questions like we do, you will get this kind of attitude. Lisa says, I asked if Moses was a medium and the person in front of me nearly had a fit. Moses was a prophet. Now, a prophet doesn't mean a fortune teller. A prophet doesn't mean someone who predicts the future. A prophet is someone who channels the truth of the Great Spirit to those who would listen. That is what mediumship is. So be technical, be sciencey with them, because they will not be able to argue that point, because we should all be breaking down boundaries and borders. And Tony's right, regardless of age, of, you know, quality of life, background, history, sexuality, gender, cultural I nearly said race. Cultural determination. Everything is irrelevant because we are all the same. I will just say hello to Reverend Alan and take care, my lovely Shelley. I'll see you later. And thank you to the love. Oh, what a wonderful name. What a gorgeous name that is.
I know.
Thank you. And hello to Kelly, who's joined us.
Kelly, yep. Hi, Kelly. Kelly used to go to the church where I started and developed. It was a lovely church. It was a lovely church. But just to give you a Michaelism.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Michael had a meeting with one of our clients in a coffee shop, and they were sat and they were discussing. And this guy is very intelligent, very switched on. He's a lovely guy, as is my husband. But they got on about religion. And Michael said, yeah, but when you think about it, the vision of hell we have now is Dante's Inferno. That's the vision we have. It's the levels of hell. And it's really a construct to beat people with. It's a control mechanism. Is you do that, you will go to hell. He says, and then of course you have to have a heaven, because you can't beat somebody with you are going to hell, but there's no alternative. So you're going to hell anyway. So that doesn't really work. So you have heaven as a construct where, you know, so and they had this chat, and then the guy went up to the loo, and Michael went and paid the bill, and then as they were leaving, two ladies had sat down 2 seats behind them, and as they were leaving, she said, is that what you really believe? You do know I'm a Christian? And Michael said, yes, dear, and so am I, and walked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this is absolutely true. And one of my favourite, I suppose you could call it sound bites, the amount I use it these days.
Yeah, go on.
I always refer to and this is something that's considered apocryphal, just like we are, really. I refer to the Gospel of Nicodemus, very appropriate being Easter this time of year, because it was the story of what Jesus did between the crucifixion and the resurrection. He descended to hell and told everybody to get their asses out and upstairs, because you've put yourself here in the sense that you believe you belong in that place of darkness because you don't feel you've done enough. And that's what people do to each other. We segregate and we separate. And what history has done, especially with the adaptation of a fictional story like Dante's Inferno and Paradise Lost as well.
That's a good one.
You know, all of these things, we put ourselves in that location and that darkness. Like Mum says, I think hell is here on earth, and I know Stacey agrees.
I've been told that, on a few occasions. I was told by physical and by spirit that hell is what you put yourself through, trying to be good enough, to be good enough, when you're made to feel you're not worthy. And the worst thing is when you are, Dad, I need your soapbox again. I saw my dad saying, Anthony, do you want to borrow my soapbox? Yes, please.
Absolutely.
I'm dragging it out again because you should never, ever be made to feel less than, unworthy, or anything by anybody, but especially by those people you go to for spiritual succor, for spiritual support, for comfort in the darkest times of your life, be that grief or whatever it is. Those people you go to for spiritual succor should not make you feel like you're unworthy. I can tell you a story about a young man who was questioning his sexuality and went and asked for help by an Orthodox church. He was escorted off the premises. He was not allowed to go to confession. I'm giving away which church it is now. He was not allowed to have sacrament. His parents were informed. So basically he was outed to his family, which then caused family ructions. And long story short, this young man ended up homeless and ended up, outside of his community. Now, for an organization that is supposed to support you spiritually and help you develop, even if you think that way of life is wrong, you comfort that person. That is a person sat in front of you, a child of God sat with you. So, Anyway, here endeth the lesson. Told you, it'll be one of those days, Nick. We're
probably not, because I'm firing up.
I'm cracking and I'm ready.
I promised myself I was going to behave today, and we
can't. We've got to go where Spirit take us now.
Yeah, and frankly, unfortunately, I have heard so many times that story. And what really gets as my granddad would say, what really twists my ass is good old granddad. What really twists my ass is, I shall say, swear in a minute, was another one of his. My whole view on the idea that hell is a human construct is kind of backed up by that story in the Gospel of Nicodemus, where he said he went down and said, look, get your asses out there. You're here because you've put yourself here, because you've put each other there. You don't belong here. And yet that whole message was removed because it doesn't fit with the narrative. It doesn't fit with the way of thinking. And then other groups come along and purport and claim to be so much better than that we are always so, we're so much better than that. And yet they will segregate and separate again on a different purpose, on a different meaning. I will be perfectly honest, and I've kept quiet about this for far too blooming long. I was a member of an organisation where I was on the East London District Council of its organisation. I was a founder of one of its churches. As soon as I became a publicly ordained Christian spiritualist, that membership was revoked because I am part of a wayward organisation that cannot be associated with Christianity. With spiritualism. Who says? Did Spirit say that? No, because the Fox sisters were Methodists. Arthur Conan Doyle, the biggest supporter, Christian spiritualist. Yes, and I'm going to say it because it was very well documented. Gordon Higginson was a Christian spiritualist.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot sit here as a grouping, as a way of life, and say we are so much better than that which we disagree with in the form of older religions and repeat the same mistakes
No,
of the
we can't.
past, because
No.
that is what's driving people away. That is what drives people into darkness and despair, into hatred, to fear, to separation, segregation, and lack of inclusion. And it
Yeah.
really, really it is heartbreaking to know that our way of life is going down that route day by day by day by day by day, and it's covered up and it's hidden, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be. We
No,
need to be brave and bold enough to admit our failings.
we need to call out wherever there is hate and otherness, people made to feel other. We should call it out, call it what it is. It's bigotry. It's bigotry. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. That is why I left an organization and came with Nick on this journey, because of bigotry and otherness by people I held and respected.
Yes.
And that hurt. That hurt. But I had to call it out. I had to say, I can't be associated with this because it's not good. It's wrong on so many levels. And and politically, there's so much of that going on at the minute that those people over there are wrong and they're bad and we need to get rid of them and shun them. And it's tosh, absolute tosh.
Yeah.
Treat everybody with compassion and kindness. And that's, for me, why we do what we do, because yes, I know, exactly. And these same churches advertise Christmas carol concerts.
Oh, we are really having a bitchy day today. I love it.
We are, yeah, nails are out. But no, treat each other with compassion and kindness, and come before God and take part in our services, because it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And to give people messages, even if they're really tiny short messages from somebody, and where you give that one nugget of evidence where that person goes, I know you're talking to that person now. It's wonderful. And that's not ego. That's not me saying I do it for my benefit. It's just beautiful to bring these two people together again after being separated. There are only two people that you need to be true to. One is yourself and the other is God. So I just thought it and thought, wow, that's profound.
Yeah.
You can't lie to yourself without God or spirit in the universe. That is so true. That is so true. Because we have all been in situations where we've lied and not presented our true selves to the world for various reasons, whatever that is. And you should never have to do it, because I'm getting emotional about this one. I went home with Michael to my mum and dad's for Christmas one year, and my dad said, come to church with me to the Christmas Eve service. So I've relented and I went, and I really didn't know what a welcome I was going to. Everybody knew why I'd moved away from where we lived and that I was with Michael and da-da-da. The vicar came running up the aisle, threw his arms around me, kissed me on the cheek and said, oh gosh, it's so good to see you, mate. Are you okay? Are you well? And after the Chris Kringle service, they do a full on communion service. So I went down to the rail, and if you want a blessing, you just keep your hands below the communion rail. And he got hold of my hands and put the wafer in my hands and said the bits. And I'd gone home.
Yes.
I'd gone home, because that I felt that connection back with God again that I hadn't felt for so long, because for so long you're told that because of who you love and because of how you live your life, you're unworthy of God's love.
Yeah.
And it was the second time I found it, because there was still that little bit missing for me,
Yeah.
was when I found spiritualism. And then I found Christian spiritualism through yourself and that other organization. And I thought, wow,
I'm home. I'm
that's it.
home.
That's it. Now it all makes sense. You know, I was
Yes.
brought back to God, and then I was shown the path. And that's
absolutely
beautiful. And we can do that for so many people if you just go out there and shine your light and say to people, this is who we are. We are spiritualist. We hold that knowledge of life beyond, and that we
Yes.
can come back. And that's where it ends. That's where it ends for me. So there, and yes, that lady who said we pray to the same God no matter which church we're in. Yeah, we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do.
And you know, I've got to say, you know, I totally went through that same experience myself, as far as Christianity and spiritualism being a combination of a truth for me. But I know it doesn't necessarily connect with everyone, but that's fine. The most important thing that we need to understand when it comes to our way of life is that we are all a group of people coming together in common cause and intent. And, you know, for me, some of the comments coming down here reminds me, of course, that in spite of my frustration of the exclusion within our way of life, when it comes to the grassroots, the churches, there is still that welcome, there is still that openness.
Yeah.
Karen, for example, is a really good example of that.
Yeah,
And I am going to make use of that. Yeah, I do. And I know that spiritualism has helped, and it can be so much more if we stop separating ourselves. Lisa, on Remembrance Day, I saw amongst the people, all of the churches, they said there was yes, and there was one particular organisation that represented all of spiritualism on that day in that location. It's just a shame that they can't do that every day of the year rather than just on Remembrance Day. And I know that there are many churches that also, for spiritualism, do that in their own locale. Littleport, one of them. You know, and this year, Sam and the lovely Hannah, who people would probably recognise from a Thursday night, they are going to be laying it
do you mean
with
Princess
us.
Elsa?
I do mean Princess Elsa. Yes, I do. I do.
I love my Princess Elsa. She's gorgeous.
And you know, the comments coming down here about the way spiritualism has helped, it proves the point that we need to be connected, we need to be together, we need to be loving. And it reminds me, Karen, and to be honest, a few years ago, I would never have thought about meditation healing. So, you know, and you're really, really good at it, Karen. You really, really are. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm getting behind with the comments at the moment, so I'm going to catch up in a second.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of something that I was discussing with Tony that I wrote down.
Yes.
Because
info time.
I for anyone who's seen me talk before, I'm a big lover of science fiction, and I do draw a lot of wonderful information from these shows that I consider quite wonderful. And you know, as a Star Trek fan, I'm quite into Picard at the moment, and there was some wonderful words shared on there last night, this morning, or the day before, depending on where you are. And I just had to write it down for everyone because it just shows that you can find your connection, you can find your thoughts, you can find that which reflects your inner soul, for want of a better term, anywhere. And it was said, paraphrasing thus, because I've edited out all the science fiction-y bit. We all long for connection. We are all just a little bit alone. We're all stars in the same galaxy, but light years away from each other and apart. It's only when we realise this that we start to seek a legacy, a way of living beyond our physical years. But this can often be poor science, and even more so poor humanity, because evolution is not the act of preservation, it's addition. We always strive to pass on the best of ourselves to those who we aid and help, but we are not entirely in control of the things that we pass on. We seek to pass on our strength and courage, our knowledge and understanding, but we also pass on our weaknesses, our flaws, our fears, and our uncertainties. All we can do is strive to be aware of this, and the more we move forward in our lives and along those stepping stones of life, all we can do is ensure that the best of us collectively rises to the surface in the hope that each passing stepping stone, as we move along this road, aspire to be the better angels of our conscience, ready to continue it into the next generation. And I just thought that was so, obviously I've paraphrased it a little bit, nicked a little bit, but it is so profound that we do try to be the best of ourselves, but we don't always succeed. But we should accept that. And I know the bit that really called out to you, Tony, was that evolution is not preservation, it's addition, and that we are an addition to each other. And as Daryl, thank you, my love, church is the people. The church is the people, not the building.
It's not bricks and mortar. No church is bricks and mortar. It isn't. Anne-Marie, I love the diversity of all religions. We can all learn something from each other. How true that is, Anne-Marie. Why would we go and seek to change somebody's religion when we can look at it and learn from it? That's for me what it's all about. It's what are our commonalities, not what are our differences. And while we focus on the differences, we're missing something.
The best of us.
You're missing the best of humanity by looking at what makes us different rather than what makes us similar, and what can we learn from each other about our differences. Livestone, Clevewood, and I am there. Yes. And it doesn't it go on to say, and where two people meet, where two come together in my name, there shall I be. Which says you can be sat in the loo with another person. If you're there in the name of God, you are there in the name of God.
Absolutely.
Matterless.
In actual fact, on a slightly more upbeat and uplifting and mediumship informative level, don't you find people say that they get a really good spiritual connection on the toilet?
Yes.
And for anyone who doesn't know, that's because you perform the physical act of cleansing your spirit and your body. So therefore, spirit will come closer. And to put that into a slightly naughtier analogy, our relevant groupings and our ways of life will always get closer to spirit when we get rid of the poop.
Yes. Metaphorically.
And literally. Yeah.
With the rubbish and you're there. Yeah. It's so true. It's all true. Oh, I like that, Daniel.
Yes. We all breathe the same.
We all end up the same. Enjoy today, tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so many times we talk to people with the collar, and that's what you hear. But there was so much more I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there was so much more I wished we'd done.
Yeah.
And go for it. Live like today like it is your last, all the time, because you never know. And it's just a quirky one, and it's just come to my mind, so I'm going down that train of thought. We shall go down that rabbit hole. The phrase, "but they were taken before their time," is a little irritant for me, because it's like, no, we go when we're meant to.
Yeah.
When we have fulfilled everything that we were meant to do, we're taken home. So, and when I said that on a rostrum for the first time, Jean looked at me and she went, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh Daniel,
Yes.
I didn't know that, matey. Thank you for sharing. That's
Yes,
really,
it's appreciated. And
it really is appreciated. And if ever you need to talk, matey, you get in touch with
but
either of us.
the second sentence
Sentence, wow,
is and
it's
that's the bit we need to
it's the chef's
focus
kiss.
on,
Mwah.
you know, and celebrated. Absolutely. And I know why that Karen does not 100% agree there, and I will explain the reason why. Because we think that phrase is about the spiritual side. It's not. It's from our perspective. And
Yes.
in the sense of our perspective, it's always going to be too soon.
Oh gosh, every
But
time. Yes.
but when it comes to the spirit, there is that there it is always when it's unfortunately and horrifically supposed to be. But when it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah.
us,
Yeah. Sorry,
it is our
I
no
wasn't
no.
clear then, but yes, it is from the loved one's perspective, it is too soon. It
And
always
any
is.
time will be any time.
You
We
can
could
be
live
100
1,000 years.
and it'll be too soon. But this from spirit, it yes, that's the
Yeah,
perspective I was talking about. I do
yeah.
apologize if I've caused upset. Didn't mean
Mm.
to, but
But
it's
but
just
you
because
see, this is the great thing, though. We can actually have this conversation, and in spite of not agreeing, it was still done in a friendly, polite, and kind manner because you
yeah.
respect each other's opinions, and that is what is beautiful about this way of life. And you know what? I think sometimes it's why the best part of our way of life is not set in stone,
Mhm.
because we can actually have that conversation
Yeah, we
and
can. We can.
understand each other's perspectives on it,
Yeah.
and know that there is more than one perspective.
And from I mean, just to pick on you up on your mum's point, what about a miscarriage that never comes to earth? From my understanding from spirit that have come and said they were lost that way, it's about that was the lesson they were meant to learn, was to come, be conceived, but not come. And who's to say that next time, if reincarnation, I know Nick's going to get twitchy, you know, that there's other lessons they will learn. But yeah, it's that was the perspective I was looking at it from.
Yeah,
Spirit coming to me and saying, but I went when I was meant to go. And
yeah,
you know, even if that is they chose their time to transition, that was when they were meant to do it. And that's the way this perspective. So I do apologize if I caused any upset and hurt. As Whitney said, my love is your love and your love is my love, and together we can build an eternity.
wow, love it. Ain't
Love
Whitney the
is love.
best?
Yeah. It
And
would
life
be
would be boring if we all
horrific.
agreed on things. Absolutely.
It would
You know,
be horrific if
I
we
mean,
were
to
only
be
one
honest
perspective.
with you, Tony's just touched on something there when it comes to agreeing and disagreeing with each other. We can talk. There are plenty of things that Tony and I disagree on conceptually. Maybe the core of it all, we do complete. We're on the same wavelength, the
Absolutely.
same level. But the nuances, and he touched on that with my feelings about reincarnation.
Mm.
Um, and over the years, I've been very black and white. And
Mm.
that's very much to do with my development and where my journey has taken me. I'm a lot less hardline and a lot more blurred line these days than I used to be. I think you'd probably agree,
Absolutely.
Tony.
Absolutely.
Since I've ventured out on my own 2 feet, pulled my socks up, and realised that I can stand up when I need to on my own 2 feet, I've noticed the world in a different way, which is where I can actually say, Daniel, I know exactly where you're coming from in more ways than you could possibly imagine. Um, One of the most important things for me is asking spirit. And so once upon a time, I would have said that there is no such thing as reincarnation. But then I actually did what I'm supposed to as a medium and asked Spirit. And they did give me a very blurred line grey answer because it's not specific to everything and everyone. And what we have to remember as humans, we see things from our own perspective, which is why the statement that we just discussed could be contrived as very divisive when in absolutes. But Tony and I don't deal in absolutes. We deal in those perspectives. I got to come back actually to Karen's comment from before that. And this is one of those blurred lines. I'm not sure about how spiritualism helps so many people. It's beautiful, yet others think it involves the devil. How do people think that way? I'm a bit lost. And it is all to do with the way we understand things. Control is a big one. So people try and control the message. That means there are no blurred lines. So there's no conversation. And the one unblurred line in certain other ways of life is that there is no way for us to be able to talk with those that have gone before us, which is really quite sad, because I wouldn't have met my brothers and sisters that were not touching the earth in the form of miscarriage, which is why Mum brought it up. You know, I had a message from my brother from Spirit who never touched the earth. He's my older brother, but he always shows himself as my younger brother. And I know from the conversations that I've had with him and with my guides and helpers that it is likely that I would not have been here if it hadn't have been for his attempt to come to the earth plane, because he came to give Mum hope and healing. And without that hope and healing, I would have not have been able to have been here. There was another comment, I can't remember who it was now, that tied in with the comment. Bear with. Yes, that one from Stace.
Yes.
How do you feel about the saying that the good die young? I can logically make sense of adults passing, but I struggle to make sense of children's transitions. Do you know what? I'm gonna be completely open and honest. I think it's very true, but also diabolical as a phrase, because anybody dying is horrific, no matter what their age. These phrases are there to try and comfort us, but can actually be quite conceited and contrived depending on how they are spoken. I personally think that the point should be that the good die, full stop. And it's a horrible, hard fact of life. It's harder when and it is completely harder when we haven't followed what we consider the normal process of life. The normal process of life is we are born, we grow up, we live, we experience, we love, we grow old, we pass on our wisdom, and then we go back. But it doesn't work like that.
No.
It doesn't work like that. I know that every single person that has touched this earth has brought with them a wonderful gift in some way or another. And no matter whether you live 1 minute or 100 years, you will have touched someone's life in a beautiful and profound way. And it is a true legacy. It is a true legacy, because if you generate love, if you generate memory that is blessed, is gifting, is warming, no matter how hard the passing, they have brought something wonderful to the table.
Absolutely. And I can see Stacey's point about the loss of children. No matter how they pass, struggles to make sense of it, because what for me it's the loss of all that potential. It's that what could have been, and that's the thing. And I mean, I've done it myself, and Linda, obviously. No parent should have to have a child's funeral. No parent should have to do that, no matter at what age. But it goes back to the point I said before. If we trust in God and we trust in spirit and spiritualism, then that spirit was sent here to experience certain things, and once that's done, they go home. But it's about, and it picks up Sean's point about the good do not die young, because even if you live for 100 years in relative terms, that's not very long. It's still, what else could we have done?
Yeah.
And there's that's the thing for me. But as spiritualists, I have to say it's a mixed blessing, because whilst we grieve the loss of that physical person being involved in our lives, we know that they are still only a thought away, that they are still around us, and can be felt and loved and appreciated and be involved in our lives still. But on the flip side of that, to lose a parental influence in your life is difficult. I've not had to suffer that yet, thank God. But there's that loss of, again,
Direction.
that person in your life who was your rock, who was your stay, who was there to go to if you were, oh, I'm a bit stuck and I don't know what to do, or, this has happened in my life and I need you to tell me what to do about it. That's gone. But again, if as spiritualists, it's that mixed blessing again, because they're here, but we know they've gone to that place, and there's no pain, there's no suffering, and they can come back and they can be involved in our lives.
And when it comes to someone who's our age, say a partner or a friend or a sibling, and heaven forbid someone younger than us, somebody else used that perfect word. It's the I think it was actually you, Tony. Sorry. It's that loss of potential. You know. I have lost a parent, and although he is so helpful to me from the other side of life, he's a direction that I don't have anymore. That carrying forward. I'm supposed to be his legacy. He's supposed to train me for the future, and I'm not ready for that future without him. Many days of my life, still to this day. But when you are planning to build a life with someone, that loss of that potential memories that you can share and bring back from the other side of life, it is diabolical. And I've seen people that are similar to my age, younger than my age, that I hold very, very dear to my heart. In actual fact, Karen drew a picture of one of my friends in the workshop last week. My little Jimmy, bless him. We worked together, and he passed on his 18th birthday. And the potential that he had to influence the world. What more could he have done in his life? I'm blessed to have known him, and I've blessed by the influence that he had on my life. But it's always that feeling, isn't it, of what more could they have achieved? What more memories could we have created together? And so that's why I think that some of the phrases that we have in life, not our way of life, but our phrases in general in life, are too black and white.
Yeah, I agree.
Far too black and white.
I need to put a light on.
You do need some light, and I'll be adjusting mine in a minute to counterbalance the night.
Could I just pick up a couple of points, and then we'll try and move on to something a bit lighter?
Yes.
Lisa Hunt, I was once told that some only here for a short while, so we can learn something good from them being here. Absolutely. It's what reflects what Nick said earlier about there's always something positive from somebody being here, no matter what that is. And just to pick up on the flip of that, I can imagine some people going, oh, what about Hitler, or what about Putin, or what about, you know, we learn something for the reaction of, it's something I always used to say about psychology when I was teaching psychology. The theories of Sigmund Freud, I always found a little bit brain boggling, because, you know, the psychosexual development of children, seeing children as sexual beings, I just can't do that. And no matter what. But the important thing I used to say in my classes about Freud is the backlash from him. So psychologists going, good grief, that can't be true. Let's dig into it and see what. So we learn so much from that, from Hitler, from all these atrocities that have happened. The human race has learned, or should have learned, can I say?
That would
to
probably be more
better.
Yeah.
We should have learned those lessons by now, but we're being a bit dense, I'm afraid, as human beings, and we're not quite learning all those lessons yet. So there we are. But my dad's just picked up a really good point. I found comfort knowing that you have the ability to talk and see both my parents and my in-laws. Yes, absolutely. My Auntie Florence has been around a lot at the minute, and all these different energies coming in. And knowing that those people you have lost will be back, will talk to you, will kick your butt. And Linda, a loss is a loss, no matter what it is, and it's devastating. And I always say, and you'll have heard me say it before, we never get over grief. We learn to live with the whole. We learn to live with the whole that's in our lives. But go on, Nick.
The answer to that is we are Christian spiritualist ministers, but we do not exclude any other walk of life whatsoever. All are welcome here to debate, to share opinions, thoughts, and feelings. We are ordained ministers of spiritualism with a Christian twist. Interestingly enough, we get shunned by both sides of our descriptions, depending on, you know, and it's just life. I've been heavily involved in on my TikTok life. I'm heavily involved with a lot of deconstructionists, so that styled my way of working, I feel, because deconstruction can be very, very good for the soul. The only way to understand what the truth is by examining those little bits of truth that we all share. So we are ordained ministers of spiritualism, proving life eternal, we hope, through our mediumship, but also sharing the community that is the human race, or at least trying to encourage people to listen and talk rather than just talk over and shout at each other. So that's why we are here. Morningstar, lovely name, by the way.
It is absolutely beautiful. Karen White, that is an absolute understandable human reaction. Absolutely understandable. But the way I would put it to you, and excuse me for this, is we discussed earlier about go on, what was I saying? Yes, about hell on earth.
Yeah.
So if you look at it from that perspective, then our loved ones have gone home to God, to Christ, and are there having parties and coming back every now and again saying hello to us, who are living through hell on earth. And at the moment, can I just say, it feels more like we're getting down the rings of Dante's Inferno.
Yeah,
we are. It's just feeling a bit at the minute. Oh, thank you.
And we love you.
You understand where we're coming from then, Morningstar.
Morningstar, I love. Now, Morningstar, I've got to say, we do know astrology, we do know numerology, we do know palmistry. We focus on mediumship, spirit communication, but we're aware of it. We do have, and I have to say, you're not my first Christian mystic. you are most welcome here.
Yes.
You've definitely found the right place to drop
And
the
if you
weight
want
off your
to have a
slingback.
talk, if you want to pop in and have a talk at some point, and
Yeah,
explain to us what you do, we would be fascinated, as
I'm
would I
very
imagine our crew,
viewers, our family,
congregation, whatever. Yeah.
Gonna say, yeah, you're absolutely
Oh,
right. Yeah,
you're actually right. You would never grasp the book of Revelations without a deeper knowledge. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, bless. Look, Daryl and Lisa, welcome
there you
in.
go.
Morning
See,
Star.
the family says hello. Come on in, and this is the thing.
Yeah.
I first found Christian mysticism, interestingly enough, by a lovely lady called Mama Bug on TikTok.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mama
I've
Bug is
seen her.
amazing. She calls herself a Christo-pagan. That's such a wonderful term. I love it. And we've chatted. I do have to tell her off because she still insists, because she sees my profile that I'm a Christian spiritualist bishop. She still insists on calling me Your Grace rather than Nick. But we'll get there in the
Oh,
end.
yeah.
But
Okay.
it's a very Americanized view because everyone but the reason I avoid the term Your Grace is because I've watched Game of Thrones, and everyone who was referred to in that way didn't end very well.
No.
So we're bringing the fun back in now for certain. But she's a lovely, lovely lady with some wonderful, wonderful ideas. So you're not my first Christian mystic, Morning Star. So I know everyone will love you in the comments in the family.
And even my dad says that would be
Yeah,
interesting to hear what you have to say.
that says a lot when you say even my dad says that would be interesting.
Yeah.
And Lisa, be yourself and do what your heart makes you say. Absolutely.
Sean, I get you now. Yeah, Sean's driving. He said he's got us on audio, so getting the messages so they're not coming through quite right because he's just put another observation in to the chat.
Yes. Hang on. So
yeah,
let's try and translate. I've got another observation. I was once told that everybody has the ability to light up a room somewhere as they enter it, and others. When they leave, we could look at our time on Earth as just being in the room and doing our best to be whichever those two people need to be. I cannot disagree in any one way, form, or another. Really, really can't. Really can't disagree with that at all.
no.
It's absolutely. We are here to light each other's. We are here to light each other's life, light each other's path, be a light at each other's feet, to put it in a Christian spiritualist way. A little bit about me. I'm a Michael McIntyre stalker. Nick, you are my Saint Nicholas of Brown. Bless you. I've got to share a little bit. She's so much of a stalker that she pursued him, and when she met him here in that picture, she got him with a pen to sign his arm, autograph her arm. She's now had that tattooed.
Yeah,
it was tattooed over.
Yeah, we went to see Kylie once. She called it the Anti-Tour. She'd just done an Aphrodite tour, which was this huge water show, and it was all bells and whistles. So she did an anti-tour in O2 academies where there were only a couple of hundred people in the space. And she always does, she comes out and she walks up and down the queue and has a chat with people. And she did that. A girl had a Sharpie pen and she got her name signed Sunday afternoon. So she rang tattooists Sunday afternoon saying, "Oh my God, has anybody?" And like, "No, it's Sunday. I'm sorry, dear. No, it's Sunday." And one guy said, "Because it's that, I will come down and set my shop up and I will do it for you. I'll charge you time and a half." And she had cling film round her arm and this tattoo and blood dripping, and it was all gory and horrible. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Karen.
I've got to come.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I've got to come to Lee.
Yes.
And perceptionally, I totally agree. However, you've brought 4 children into this world. They will be 4 lights, 4 candles, because of the way you have taught them, and they will be lamps for future people. And going back to the bathroom analogy, it's up to us to squeeze out the rubbish.
Yes.
I think I got that across as politely as possible.
You could, yes.
You know, there was no way I was going to put that in any other way. We have got to squeeze out the rubbish. There is hatred in this world, but if we can work with each other to understand, to represent the things that we agree on more than the things that we disagree on, but then, you know, yes, we can't ignore the things we disagree on. That would be impossible. It would be bad, actually, if we were to ignore the things that we disagree on. But if we can focus on the things that we agree on more than the things that we disagree on, and by father-in-law in spirit, Alan, you know, my spiritual husband here, because I'm getting quite a posse going on of spiritual partners. It's quite funny, really. But if we can focus on the good stuff, shine a light on the good stuff, then the way we handle the stuff that we disagree on will be so much more better, I believe. Because if we can spend all of our time saying, well, you know what, actually 90% of what you're saying I'm on board with, can we talk about why we disagree with the 10% rather than argue about the fact that we do? I think then the world will be much, much better. Your thoughts on this, Tony, while I just have to nip away from the screen for a second.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take myself away. The floor is yours.
I can absolutely agree with what Nick's just said, that it is that if we know we agree on that 98% or whatever, then we know we need to work on that 2% that where we differ. But where we can't agree or we can't come to understanding, then you've still got 98% or 90% that you agree on. So celebrate that. But we are. I just want to go to what Lee said. But yeah, and you've brought 4 beautiful children into this world, and they will very much shine a light, because you and Anne-Marie have got wonderful perspectives on life, and your children will see that and go into the world with that teaching that you've given them. So you've armed them very well to face the world. You really have. Nick is polyamorous spiritually with his husband. He is indeed, and his wife. He has a wife as well on a Monday morning. I noticed that the other day when I was there. Daniel, your circle is tiny and you only allow a select few into your life. Yeah. You have people around you who you let into your life. Those people that are carrying you forward, that are there giving you, I was going to say positivity, but that's not necessarily the case, that take you forward, that nurture you. But you also have people in your life who you nurture, who you develop, who you click with. And it's that two-way street. I always say you have a close circle of friends and then you have acquaintances. And that's how it works. We were just talking about you being polyamorous spiritually.
I was just catching up, yes. And in actual fact...
with husbands, and I said, and wife.
And wife, yes.
Monday mornings.
My lovely Dawn, the missus.
Yeah. Anne-Marie and Lee, who we were talking about, are husband and wife. They're obviously watching separately.
Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes,
will
yes.
come and bless your shop as well at some point.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes.
they
Blessing things does help.
they are funeral directors,
Oh,
and
I
they have a shop.
see.
They've just opened a new shop, so establishment. So I said I would go and bless it, ready for Morning Star. I've been reading some of the stuff you've been putting in, and it's wonderful. Some of the stuff we really do need to get you on and get you.
Yeah, it would be nice
Have a talk.
actually.
Yeah, it would.
Because I have to say, for anyone who's been watching, I've been singing about the 12 tribes of Israel all
How
week.
you have. Mm-hmm.
Um, 'Cause when I was, I'm going to say this publicly for everyone. When I was younger, the only way I could ever remember the 12 tribes of Israel was through the song Jacob and Sons. Even though when I started learning properly, I couldn't understand where Visian had gone because it was with Simon. With Simeon. But I was always singing the Simeon. And it's like, where's he gone then? Oh, hang on a minute. It's with Simeon. So we don't always get it right as we go along. So it's
just yes. I love that show. I love that show. I had the CD on repeat in my car for months and months and months and months and months. It was wonderful. Stace, the world is a much scarier place now compared. I think the world isn't a much scarier place. If you excuse me a minute, just following my train of thought, it's a much smaller place, and we have instant access to information. Instant access, 24/7.
absolutely.
I've seen kiddies primary school age walking around with these things in their hand, and they take them into the bedrooms on a night and things. So 24/7 access to whatever's going on in the world. And that's where I think why it feels scarier, because we are aware of so much more than when I was a kid, because we had the morning newspaper, we had the news at lunchtime and the news at 6 o'clock, and then again at 10 o'clock. That was it. And I think it was, we lived in a little bit of a sanitized world because certain things weren't talked about. And it was like, oh no, we can't upset the children. We can't upset the children. And now it's it's information overload, I feel.
Yes.
So I think that's the difference. It's children know much more now than when I was a child. And how can I sanitize this sentence a little bit so I can say it without being kicked off? I had a teenager, or I know of a teenager who described when they grow up what sort of things they were going to enjoy in à la chambre.
Yes.
Because they've been watching it on and I think, wow. When I was that age, I was playing hopscotch in the street. And had my Action Man tank on my dad's drive. It sloped like that. So I'd put the tank at the top and it would hit the door at the bottom. And that would be him crashing into, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I certainly didn't know what adults did with each other and other people and instruments and things when I was that age. So whilst a blessing, and I have to admit, my world is on here, my calendar, everything, my diary, my appointments is all here. It can be a curse as well, because how often do you see people in restaurants and things where they're like this and there's absolutely no conversation happening across the table? But there we are.
And if I could just pick up on that as well, Tony, it's not just the information overload, it's the way that information is portrayed. For example, and this is going to be you know, for want of a better term, this is a sensitized warning, because what I'm going to say could be taken as quite graphic. And therefore, I will at least forewarn people that what I'm going to say could be really quite hurtful in an emotional sense.
Mm.
When I was a child, if there were pictures of wars shown on the TV, on the news, you were right, it was very sanitized.
Mm.
Now the news will show pictures of bodies in all their disrespectful view. And it is disrespectful to that person. Yes, it's important we should know the cost of war and pain and suffering, but it is thrown at us, and it is now a 24/7 news feed. There was a time when it would be edited for the eyes that would potentially see it. That doesn't happen anymore. Yes, it's important to know the cost, but I think we know the cost. We've always known the cost, but it is forced down our throats in such a graphic way now that the view of what is happening is so much more blunt and brutal. And whilst, yes, it's important for people to understand that concept, to just put it out there with that. There was a time when we have to warn you now of some graphic scenes. That doesn't even happen anymore, especially with the internet. There is no graphic scene warning.
But you do get the warning with the flashing lights.
Yeah, you get warned for flashing lights because it might set off your...
Not dismembered. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember during COVID, there were reports coming in from Brazil. And Michael and I were sat at the caravan at the table having our lunch, tea, sorry. It was afternoon news, evening news. And they had an open pit. And like a chip on a fork, and I was like, oh, Lord, no, no. Yes, the death toll is horrific, and yes, they can't keep up with, but to show them burying people in an open pit at that time of the afternoon was just wow. And Facebook used, they're putting unacceptable books into libraries for 10-year. It depends what context you're talking about, unacceptable, but yet there is material out there that children are accessing that I really don't feel is suitable. When Claire's kids, Claire Bradwell, who worked for the Rainbow Project, she's got twin boys at 16 and Daisy, who's 13. But the very adult kids, and Claire has very open and frank conversations with the children. And they started talking about certain things, and we were at the caravan together, and I said to Claire, the boys are asking about, and she says, if they're old enough to ask the question, they're old enough for an age-appropriate answer. So don't fob them off.
Yeah.
If they ask you a question about your relationship, whatever, and you feel comfortable doing it, just have an appropriate conversation with them. And we do. We're very honest with the kids. And so they know all about all sorts of things age appropriate to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't show them graphic photos of that at all. No.
But I mean, perfect example. It goes back to what you were saying about how do I phrase this without getting kicked off the air. You were conscious of how to portray, and it is age appropriate, is everything. You know what? Yeah. I knew when I was a teenager, very young teenager, what I wanted to be doing, but all I needed to know is that it was okay for me to be like that, not be told. I could, and certainly coming back in a moment to Daniel's comment, I could easily find what I needed to know on that score myself. And perhaps, maybe a little bit too young. And certainly in this day and age, because when I'm very fortunate, I came into the Google world at a very age appropriate time for me.
Yeah.
I was deeply lucky that Google became a thing after I, turned 16, 17. Before that, it wasn't a thing. So we do have to be cautious and conscious of how we portray these things. But once again, it's who controls that filter. And at the moment, I don't feel there is a filter anymore.
No.
There is no filter.
No. We were talking the other day, Jason, our friends, with Michael downstairs, and he was talking about he likes Call of Duty. He loves that Xbox game. I'm sure it's available on other platforms, but he has it on Xbox. And he was talking about kids of 12, 13 abusing him with some quite horrific language because he killed them or whatever it is. But it was like, well, it's an 18 plus game. I know of people who bought it for children of 9 and 10, and
Yes.
It's like, well, that's the parents doing it, but it's how you control that. We were always open with our children and our nephews and nieces, and it's very much about that conversation and bringing them into the when they're ready to know that information. And to quote Stacey, it's a need to know basis, and at the minute you don't need to know that. You need to know that two men can love each other, or two women can love each other, or a man that used to be a woman, or a woman that used to be a man, whatever it is, whatever the permeation in your life is. But let them grow up. Let people grow up as they want to. And we could get into with
Tony. I've got to say, you've triggered me now.
Sorry,
you've triggered me now, and I've got to say it. And that I always try to be very tempered with what it is that I share. People in our way of life, and I'm not talking about spiritualism now. People of our rainbow that sit under this particular rainbow, we get accused of not letting kids be kids. But it is not us that do that. When you can see, and you were about to come to it, I apologise for cutting over. School librarians can choose the books, but there is no regulation on what is selected. We are not the ones responsible for bringing things into children's lives at the wrong age. We are very much aware that we want people to understand who they are and when they are and what they are, whether it comes to gender and sexual orientation, when it comes to spirituality. We make things very age appropriate, and I think people can recognize that by the way we've tried to temper the conversation regarding language and visual description. We try to be age appropriate, but there is a level that should be allowed. We are not the ones, because we are accused of bringing this stuff into young lives. No, we're just trying to make sure people know that they can be who they say they are. We are not the ones who are responsible for turning that dial of appropriateness. Other people are. Those that control that dial. And it is absolutely shameful to segregate a group based on who they are and what they believe and what they feel and who they are, because they might muddy the water. We're not the ones muddying the water. It is the people who are using a small part of our way of life. Going back to the comment about, demons and devil worship in spiritualism, it is those that wish to separate who will use that against that grouping, whether it be spiritualism, whether it be gender, whether it be sexuality. And I think it is an absolutely shameful thing, and we should be able to see that as human beings with compassion in our hearts, that will actually, this is not what the subject is about. The subject is about openness and honesty, as you said, openness and honesty based on an age appropriate way. We try to be that, and people need to stop forcing the negative view of how they perceive someone's life as a way of controlling that way of life. It happens in religion, it happens in the news, it happens in politics, it happens in everything. And, you know, it is really, really important to be able to be open and honest with people, and every people, no matter their age, without bringing things forward too soon, too quickly. You perfect example. You said, you know, there was a time when, you know, when you were of that particular age, that you were just playing with toys and having fun and living your life. We can introduce the truth to people without it being graphic.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Completely agree.
it's really, really important that we focus on that.
Look at the hoo-ha at the minute about drag story time. And it's been banned in how many states in America now?
Yeah.
And there were protests over here outside of an empty shop because it was an old advert from months ago that hadn't been taken down off the internet, that every Thursday we have drag story time. So protesters were there with their banners and there was nobody at the pub. But anyway, anywho, but those same people will be taking their children to pantomime.
Yeah. You know, we grew up on drag story time, you know, and let's face it, that's as old as the hills, because if you want to go back into another walk of life and another way of thinking and believing, you know, back in the days of Shakespeare, there were no female actresses.
No.
All female characters were played by a male.
Guys. Yeah.
By men. And, you know, there's a lot of sauciness in Shakespeare.
And some. Yep, stay sure they've been dressing up in drag since Shakespeare, so she was on the same wavelength as you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Must be psychic, love.
But isn't it? It's drag is not sexualizing anything. It's not even really men taking the mick out of women. It's about celebration, about fun, about humor, about being saucy sometimes and a little bit. I mean, I've watched pantomimes where some of the comments have made me blush, and it's always been above the heads of the younger ones, as we've said. It's all age appropriate, it's all double entendre, but it's
absolutely,
it's fun and it's funny. And why take that away from people? It's just so sad. It's so sad. It makes me. We've talked about this before on other shows. 10 of them now, you tell me. It's about the celebration of people being their best selves. And that's what's important to me. Let somebody be the best version of themselves they can be, and let's celebrate that. I mean, look, Jamie Campbell went to school prom in a dress. Whole hoo-ha about it. They made a documentary about him, which became a wonderful musical at Sheffield Theatres, which is now on the West End, and there's a movie about it. It's fabulous. It's a celebration of individuality. Take away the boy in a frock. Take away the fact that he was gay. It's a celebration of that young man being his best self. And that's what we should all be doing. All should be doing it. And Daniel, his son, wanted a pram. So he did it. He got one with a dolly. Wonderful. Bravo.
And I've got to share a personal story here. I did the same thing when I was in infant school. I used to push the pram and the dolly around. Now, my teacher said to my parents, who were asking about this when I was relaying it, it's a sign that he could very well be a really great and active dad. And it was true. You know, I will never have children of my own other than my bunnies and my fish. But, you know, there's no reason why, if I wanted to have children, there are enough children that don't have their birth parents to support them, that if someone wanted to be a parent, They should be allowed to be. But it does. But
Exactly.
such a thing could be, as Michael says, dads should take their children out. A dad pushing a pram. Absolutely agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anne-Marie,
Was,
you did. Yeah, Anne-Marie came to Wathall and they met Jamie because he was there, and it was such a fun night. Really was. Exactly. It's there are enough restrictions on people in life anyway. So
yeah,
let's celebrate life. We said earlier, live each day like it's the last. So be your best self. And if you want to go out,
exactly.
Daniel, in a pair of slingbacks, you go out in a pair of slingbacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Facebook
don't think
users
it's good,
comment,
yeah.
I was talking with a 15-year-old who doesn't know yet whether he is gay or not. Howsoever, his peers feel he should put himself into a category. He's simply not sure yet and so should not be pressured.
No.
Totally agree, because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, when I was 15, I woke up every morning hoping that I was a woman because of the way I felt. And it wasn't until I accepted myself that I put myself into what category I felt was appropriate to me. And because of all of the pressure of being a teenager in the 80s and 90s, which I was, I wanted to be as normal as possible. So I wanted to wake up as a woman so that the way I felt about the other boys was okay. And that's a horrendous experience to be in.
Yeah,
And we still do it to each other.
we
And we
do.
do that spiritually as well as,
We absolutely do. We
biologically.
absolutely do. Hence the comment of I was telling you about before we came on about, oh gosh, no, you can't be Christian and spiritualist. You've got to be one
Yeah,
or the other. And it's something we've said to people when they come to the Rainbow Project, and it's like, well, I like men, but I find women attractive. So am I gay? Am I bi? And it's like, why can't you just be Fred? Be Fred
yeah,
for today and be the best
yeah,
version of Fred. Love who you love. Have sex with who you have sex with. It doesn't matter. Why do you need to be in a box? Stop putting yourself into a box to please other people. Stop putting
yes,
yourself into a box to make them feel comfortable because they want to know which little pigeonhole you're sitting in. No, don't. Be you. Be the
yeah,
best version of you can be. Sod whether they want to label you gay, bi, pan, or whatever the hell else is out there at the minute, because the labels are spreading that far. I can't keep up anymore.
I know.
We're going to need 5 A4 sheets just to put all of our letters on in a bit.
Yeah,
But exactly, it's not gay marriage. It's marriage. It's marriage
here,
between two
here.
people who love each other. And whilst people are saying, oh, we can bless them, but we won't marry them. And then, but the head of the church is saying, but I won't even bless them because no, I can't. I don't like that. Don't like that. Take it away. Not in my
Yeah,
church. Not in my church. Well, put your church where the
yeah,
sun don't shine, then, matey, because we don't want that.
exactly.
So
I have got and to bring the fun back, I've just got to go to Michael's comment. With any luck, because the bottle's in the cupboard.
Bravo.
I have to say though, this is why I am so blessed. This is why I'm so blessed. What is normal, Nick? And for those that don't know, that are either new to the channel or are late to the party, that's my mother.
Yeah.
What is normal?
No.
And that's why I am
Exactly.
so blessed and fortunate in my life.
Yeah.
And, I was always nervous of coming out to my dad. The only reason he got a bit pissy with me is because of how he found out. It took him 24 hours to get over how he found out. After that, he reminded me that I am still his son. Don't worry, it wasn't anything naughty. It was just
Oh,
really,
right.
really
I
funny.
just thought, oh, heavens.
Yeah,
But exactly, Linda. Evolution is not whatever the word was. It is
hang on.
addition.
Evolution is not an act of preservation, it's addition.
It's just because you put the word gay or lesbian or trans in front of a gender, it doesn't mean there are less rights for that group. So just because you give rights to a gay man doesn't mean that men get less rights. It's just an addition to the word. So let's all stop being so pissy about the word normal or whatever it is. No, I mean, even if my son got arrested for murder and locked up for life, I would love him. Might not like what he did, but I love him no matter what. And just because a child, just to pick up on some of the comments I can see coming up, just because a child comes to you and said, I want to be, or I am gay, I am trans, I am a mechanic, I am an engineer, I'm whatever, that don't make you a bad parent. No. Rejecting that child for being that is what makes you a bad parent. So kudos to Linda for the way she did handle that, and the comment of what is normal, Nick. Exactly. And that's why we love coming down to Littleport to see you, to see Nick, to see the church, because we don't care. We as a church don't care.
Yeah.
Well, we care for you, obviously, but we do not see you as anything other than you and being the best version of you. So there we are. Here endeth the lesson, and I hope that's positive, because it felt positive.
It certainly did. And you know, I know you've met Dad. I just wish you could have met Dad.
Yeah.
Because I will tell, just briefly, I will tell the story. Everyone in the universe, apart from Dad, knew my truth. He retired and started working for me in the garage. I then transferred to another store. He stayed in the old store and started working for someone else. And someone made a comment about me being gay, and that's how we found out.
Oh, yeah, I can see why.
He was really upset by that, to the extent that he came and had it out with me at one point in another shop. It was so funny, actually, and we did laugh about it afterwards. 24 hours later, he said, "You're still my son." And a few months after that, I met Nigel, and he was another son. And it was such a beautiful and wonderful thing. And I'll be honest with people, anyone who, because I know obviously through both of our connections, but especially yours, Tony, anyone who watches this who is uncertain, anyone who watches this who is unsure about how their parents will be, my dad was one of the most old-fashioned blokes you would ever meet. But my dad also treated Nigel as another son. And it can be hard. And I was never sure about how my dad would take things, but he was brilliant because I trusted him. And I think trust is the most important thing. And it was my mistake because I didn't trust my dad, and I should have done.
Yeah.
You've got to understand who you are first and allow yourself to feel who you are first, but then trust the people that love you to know that they will love you for who you are. And will forget about borders, boundaries, names and labels, because at the end of the day, for my summation, I go back to the first part of what I said earlier. We're all long for connection, and we can all be just a little bit alone. We might be stars in the same galaxy, but light years apart. But in this day and age, we are so close now. We are so connected now that we don't have to be that distance. We don't have to be that distance apart. And that's the good part of the way we connect in the world now. Like, for instance, with this. like for instance with this. And I want to personally thank for the honesty, the truth, and the kindness that everyone has shared with each other in the comments today, because it has
Absolutely.
been amazing. You
It's
are the driving force behind this chat, because we had no idea where it was going to go, and here we are.
exactly.
We've filled up an hour and 48 minutes again.
I know. And
I think our history.
rumbling.
Yeah, and I've got to go and cook as well. But thank you all so very much, and Tony,
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
always, thank you for
Oh, no.
sharing your 2 hours of a Friday afternoon with myself and
Yeah.
everyone
No,
on the
you're
screen.
wonderful. You're absolutely wonderful. And you guys are absolutely wonderful as well.
Stunning,
Because
stunning.
week after week, it just grows and grows and grows, and this beast has got legs, and it's a bit like, oh, where we're going to put it now? I don't know where we're going to go with it. But no, you are our Friday family, and it's absolutely wonderful. And I'm so glad that we can take it now onto my Facebook page as well, because so many of the people
it
joined
can reach
in
further.
Yeah.
And you know what, friends? Yes, we can share it on our Facebook pages. So it goes out on my Facebook page, the group page, facebook.com/groups/2Revs. My YouTube page, Tony's YouTube page, and Tony's Facebook page. Remember that you can share this too, because it is your show, it's your chat, it's your conversation. You lead it. So please, get the word out there that we can all come together and be kind to one another, and make sure that we are not as alone that we think we are.
No.
Especially the way we've made new friends today, and they have been welcomed when they thought they were I'm sure Morningstar thought that Morningstar was going to get, what kind of Revs are you? There's an obvious, you're going to trounce me for my beliefs. And then to find out that you're a Christian mystic. Wonderful. Welcome to the family.
Absolutely.
We are such a diverse group in this chat.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
And just to pick up the point Stace made when you were talking about your dad and things, that unconditional love, that's the job of a parent and a spiritualist.
Yes, absolutely.
Unconditional love.
In fact, there it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Unconditional love. You are here and you are loved. And that's all we need to know.
It certainly is. And so, until the same time again next week. Tony, I'm sure you're doing stuff throughout the week as well.
Yes. I've got a couple of churches that we're doing next week. I've got a live at some point. I did a live the other day. They're going to have to be a little bit impromptu at the minute, because I've got to sort of work around where we are, what Michael's doing online, so that the broadband doesn't fall over and collapse. But so just keep an eye out on my page, and there'll be a post going out about a live. I think that's about it. Oh, Saturday, if anybody is around South Yorkshire, Wath-upon-Dearne, we are at Wath Hall with the Rainbow Project. So come have a coffee from 1 till 2:30ish. We have citizens advice coming in. So if you've got any issues, pop along.
Fantastic.
And they'll sort you out with that. Tuesday there'll be a food night with them all again. So yeah. Oh yes, you'll be seeing me soon at Brid Maria. Yes, I will be there.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
Another one of my spiritual homes, Bridlington.
Yes. Nick, you morning, brighten your day, brighten your morning.
Yes. So the procession, another busy one coming up. Saturday, I'm Prick Willow doing a psychic supper. Sunday, if anyone's in Huntington area, I'm serving Huntington Church for their divine service. Monday morning, I'm with the other missus, my lovely Dawn, for Brighten Your Day. And of course, tonight there's the workshop for those. I see a number of you. There's the third of 4 SPTV workshops as well. And me and Tony are also working on the podcast.
Yes.
So that lovely young man who's been listening in,
Sean. Yes.
Sean, yes, we're working on that. You did miss the show, but we did have a great catch up, and you can catch up throughout the week as well. Available on Facebook, YouTube, and of course the group page where you can continue the debate.
Yes.
And once we have some, we shall share them.
And Daniel did ask if we could share the YouTube channels as well.
Yes.
So I will PM you the links to mine and Nick's YouTube.
And I will work on a screen grab that we can share all of the links on.
Oh, that would be good.
Because we can share the YouTube channels into the Facebook group page.
Yes.
And we will just share everything.
Yeah.
Share everything. But for now, my friends, thank you all. So, as I love to do, as someone mentioned about the glasses, it's good night from him.
And it's good night from me. Good night.
Good night. God bless. May the peace of the Great Spirit go with you all. Mwah.